Joe, plus 20 at the free throw line.
Yeah.
What went into not only getting to the line, but not fouling and not putting them at the line?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we always talk about, and it goes back to this formula of offensive rebounds, free throws, transition points, turnovers, getting more shots, and I felt like we were very process-oriented in that approach. We got more shots than they did. We got to the free throw line. We got more offensive rebounds than they did, and so I just liked our approach of executing on both ends of the floor throughout the game amidst the emotion. I felt like this was one of the games where the emotion of what was happening didn't affect our effort or our execution at times.
Two of the biggest shots you guys hit were corner three-pointers, catch-and-shoot corner three-pointers. Obviously, we talk a lot about the three-point shooting here. That's the highest value shot in the NBA. It's something you guys generate the least.
Yeah.
What went into getting those two shots, and why, with the emphasis here on three-point shooting, why is that a shot that you guys don't generate?
It's a good question. But I do know why we got those shots tonight is just because of the way they rotate with their slot guy. And so when we slashed that guy, both guys went with him, and we were able to skip it there. And when we get to our correct post spacing, that shot can be there at times. And I think one of them came out of the post, and one of them came out of an angle pick and roll when we slashed that guy, and JT got the one in the corner. So it's just a matter of just the spacing and the execution of when we get to that properly, we're able to get more of those threes.
Two questions. Similar to John's first one there, you guys had 20 more points at the free throw line, twice as many offensive rebounds as Cleveland. Just how important was winning within the margins on a night like tonight?
I think that's always important, and you can't bank on the fact that you're going to shoot well or play well, and sometimes the other team, you look at Cleveland, they shot the ball really well, especially from three, and that can be really uncomfortable. But if you're taking care of the other things, those things are okay, and you have to be willing to live with some of those. I think they hit like 6 to 8 threes that were really difficult, but because you're taking care of the other stuff, it doesn't put a ton of pressure on you, and you have to be able to win games like that.
And then, like you said, there were some cold shooting spurts from you guys. Cleveland's making tough shots, but you guys were able to stay locked in defensively throughout this game. What did you make of just that focus and mental toughness and how important that is to the big picture?
Yeah, it was more of the mental toughness. We still gave up too much in each adjustment that we had from the standpoint of there were some lapses that we got to grow into. But as far as the mental toughness to not get caught up in the emotion and to not let it affect our effort, I thought was tremendous. And we fought to execute like we were connected. And if we did make mistakes, we made them as a team. And on the offensive end, we really fought to keep our spacing, and we didn't get into tough positions because we were well spaced and we had good screening reads.
Coach, Kristaps Porzingis had a bit of a slow start in that first half. Seemed like the Cavaliers did a really good job taking away that space, but he turned things around in a big way in the second half. What did you see from him? And he was able to do that and finish with a 21-point night.
I thought it was the trust that his teammates have. And so when you have guys like Jaylen and Jayson that understand in order for us to get to where we want to go, he's got to play a part in it. So Kristaps has to be better. But I thought the empowerment of Jaylen and Jayson, even though they were both playing well, they got him the ball in his spots as necessary, and he was able to make plays, and then he got to the free throw line. And so tonight's another example of success looking different for everybody, and everyone's talking about KP's second half. But I thought Jason's ability to dominate 25, 10, and 10 was one of his most well-rounded games in which he played, and he had an impact on every level of the game, whether it was rebounding, defense, deflections, threes, scoring in the paint, assist, and pass, and Jaylen's ability to stay locked in defensively, and then Derek and Drew's leadership. And so in order for one guy to be good, everyone's got to help him do that around. And as much as it was about that, I thought those guys playing at a different level is what helped us.
Jaylen, 4 assists in this game. He got some criticism recently for the 0 assists in back-to-back games. How much do you assess his play by the assist total? Like, does that kind
of? It's one of the most misleading stats of all time. You know why?
Why is that?
You know what has to happen for you to get an assist?
Made basket.
Yeah. So what we look at are potential assists. And so to me, it's one of the most misleading things to say a guy didn't get an assist. That doesn't mean he didn't pass. It doesn't mean he didn't make the right read. It just meant on his potential assist opportunities, those shots didn't go in. And I think that's what's important for our guys, what success looks like. Jaylen averaged like 5.5 potential assists in those 2 games. And in reality, we don't need him to average more potential assists. We need him to score. We need to put him in position to where he can get out in transition and run. He can get those easy baskets. He can get inside the paint. And so I make sure I talk to them about, like, yeah, 43 is whatever it was and 0 assists, but here are your potential assists, and here are the 2 or 3 possessions where you may have been able to take another play. But for this team, it's important that success isn't defined by stuff like that, because it's misleading and it's not fair to them. And that's where tonight, like, you know, for Jaylen, he's not going to get the credit for the couple of the big plays that he'll make. And for Jayson, no one's going to be like, oh, 25, 10, and 10. Like, to me, how are we not talking about that first? Of his ability to dominate both ends of the floor and, like, be a playmaker for everybody, and, like, for his presence and his ability to make all his teammates better. Like, that stuff is more important than, like, a stat line, and we have to understand that.
You guys 8-4 in clutch finishes now. I know every game's different, but are there some common trends through those that you see in terms of the improvement over last year?
We had 4 clutch wins.
8-4.
8. I think getting to the free throw line is important, and I think being able to throw the ball into the post is important. And so when you get to our proper spacing and we can get free throws at the end of the fourth quarter, I think that's one thing that we haven't been able to generate is free throw opportunities. And so getting the ball into the paint, closer to the basket, trying to get fouled, making sure we play physical basketball, I think that helps with that. And then making sure we don't turn it over. And I don't know the number, but I feel like our defensive rebounding is better in those situations than it has been in the past. I know we lost to these guys 3 times last year, and 2 of them were on late game offensive rebounds. And so I'll look at that, but I feel like that's been better.
Late in the game, Kristaps was defending, like, way up in the touch. Looked like he almost blitzed at one point. How has he been doing, kind of getting out of just being a drop big and being more versatile defending?
So that's where I thought our guys' open-mindedness and connectivity was good. We played about every coverage imaginable today, whether it was red, whether we were switching, whether in touch, whether we pre-switched, we blitzed a little bit, and so we have to be able to, in a game. That was as closest to a playoff game I think we've had this year, from lineups changing to matchups changing to coverages. And so we have to be able to execute different coverages. And so he did a good job on his couple possessions on LeVert. He did a good job, like you said, getting out of the mindset of having to be in drop all the time. And that's where we have to get to in close games.
This is a second straight game, I think, that you've kind of credited Jayson and Jaylen on after stat lines when they might not have been credited.
Yeah.
What about their games can go unnoticed sometimes? Mm-hmm. What do you see that those guys are doing that maybe gets overlooked on any given night? I
think going against the grain, I think it's so hard for those 2 guys because they're constantly judged by this. It's like you just look at this, and they're constantly judged by, like, the 3 or 4 loud plays, and, like, they're not looked at as, like, they're learning how to play like basketball from the standpoint of you don't get we chart screen assists. So, like, Jayson is one of the better screeners in the league, but you don't get the screen assist on the box score. So, like, D. White's pick and rolls are highly efficient because of, the ability to screen with JT. Drew's ability to find and play ways with Jaylen in 2-man actions, right? So, like, it's about how they make people around them better and how they empower their teammates. And, yeah, they have to stuff the stat sheet, but, like, JB's ability to help KP makes both of them better. Like, JT's off-the-dribble three-point percentage is higher when KP's in the game, and our horns action looks better when it's JB and KP. So it's their relation about how they make people better around them. It's their defensive ability. Like, they play hard most of the time, 90% of the time on defense, and they can dominate a game without shooting the ball. And so with this world and all this noise about what a good player is, we have to fight to be able to, credit them when they're playing team basketball. And, like, that's just as valuable as having a 40 usage rate and getting 33, 10, and 10 because your team just gives you the ball every time, These 2 guys have to navigate being all-stars on a good team, and that goes overlooked in today because it's like there's 2 all-stars and then a bunch of role players. Well, we have 6 all-stars and a really well-balanced team, and we can't be who we be if those guys don't have the humility to, like, be who they are and at the same time make each other better.
Joe, you had an animated conversation with Courtney Kirkland.
Yeah.
What was that about, and did you call that timeout just to argue with him?
Don't give me that much credit.
No, it looked like you did. I mean, you spent half the time out. Like, yeah. What was that about?
It was more of like, I don't... God, can you guys really want me to have to get a fine? It was just I wanted to just see how his day was going, what he had for lunch. Like, I wanted to get why he called an illegal screen, and and what we could have done better to not get that illegal screen, and I just asked if that was the first one of the whole game. That's all.
What was his response?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's the only one they called. So I laughed. So it was good. I appreciate the way he handled that.
I mean, Cleveland's a tough matchup for you guys. Do you just kind of have to accept that and just, when you win a rugged game like this, walk away and feel good about just kind of, I mean, they played a back-to-back, and they should have been slow, but they came out fast. They hit them first, but they seem to be a tough matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the expectation of what's supposed to be an easy matchup. Like, that would be my question to you is, like, are we supposed to have just all easy matchups? Like, they're a top 6 team in the East. Like, it's the NBA. And I get because of, it's the Celtics and we're supposed to win it every single year that there's this expectation of, like, 2 or 3 teams will give you a hard, but everyone else should be easy. And that's just not the case. That's just not the NBA. There's a lot of really good teams. And so I thought tonight was a good example of, like, we didn't fall into that expectation. Like, to me, we have to be grateful for games like this because it's an opportunity at game 22 to have to play playoff basketball without in-season tournament court. And like I said it in the huddle a few times, like, we got to be grateful for this. Like, this is a great opportunity, and we have to get rid of the expectation of, like, it's a tough matchup. Yeah, it's the NBA. They're all hard matchups. And if we can accept that, that's going to help us.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.